Welcome to tonight's event, Becoming Raising a Self-Advocate, Nothing about us without us. My name is Nora Santiago. I'm an urban policy analyst and co-chair of the Willowbrook Legacy Committee at CSI. It is my honor to host this event, and I'm so pleased with the turnout. Over 140 of you registered for this event. Tonight's event is the last event of the year of Willowbrook. I hope you enjoyed all of our events. But if you missed any of them, please go to our YouTube page and you can watch the recording. Before we continue with our program, there are some housekeeping rules I would like to go over. Everyone will be muted during the event, except the speakers. After the panel discussion, we will answer as many questions as we can. Please put your question in the Q&A tab that you can see in Zoom on the bottom throughout the event so the panelists can answer them. We also have closed captioning for this event. You can click the CC button at the bottom of your screen. It is my honor to introduce Catherine Lavender, co-chair of the Willowbrook Legacy Committee. She is also a director of the Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies Program, director of Bertha Harris Women's Center, and associate professor of history at the College of Staten Island. Please welcome Professor Catherine Lavender.
Thank you so much, Nora. This is the last event of the year of Willowbrook for 2022. When we first started talking about having a whole year of programming that would highlight the legacy of Willowbrook and how we wish to honor that legacy at the college and in our community, we talked a lot about what events should be part of those programs that we offered throughout the year. And you may remember that we began back in February with an event featuring Geraldo Rivera and Bernard Carabello, because it was the 50th anniversary of the broadcast of Geraldo's expose that brought attention to the conditions at Willowbrook. So for a lot of people, that was the most important 50th anniversary. But for me, it was also the 50th anniversary of Bernard Carabello becoming visible, being seen by the nation and being understood as the beginning of this amazing career of advocacy for the rights of people with disabilities and as self-advocacy for his rights as a human being. And I think about his founding of SANYS, the Self-Advocacy Network of New York State, as one of the most important legacies of Willowbrook. To me, that to watch what SANYS is doing today, to watch the self-advocacy of many people with various disabilities facilitated through SANYS, to be able to interact with people who participate in the program has really been, for me, one of the great highlights of my involvement with the Willowbrook Legacy Project. So I was so happy when we were able to bring the year to conclusion by focusing on some of that astounding work that SANYS has been able to foster. So I'm very proud and happy to be able to welcome all of the self-advocates and their family members who are here to speak to us. And I'm going to turn it over to the host for the event, Marilyn Stata.
Thank you, Dr. Lavender. My name is Marilyn Stata. I am on the Self-Advocacy Association of New York State, their board of directors. I also work for the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities as a self-advocacy liaison. Now I will let my teams get to introduce themselves. So Marisol, why don't you start?
Hi, I'm Marissa. I'm with my dad, Victor, and we're from Long Island, New York.
All right.
Heather, you and your mom can do it.
Hi, my name is Heather Romanek, and I am a self-advocacy consultant for the Arc of Jefferson and St. Lawrence counties. And I also have a volunteer job in which I work at the Arc of Jefferson County's Day Hab on Fridays with people with developmental disabilities. And I have autism. And this is my mom, Karen Romanek.
Victor, I'm sorry, you want to introduce yourself?
And I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to participate, and I hope it can be some kind of asset to your program.
All right. Now, Karen and Jesse, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. My name is Jesse Millman. I am I'm 20 years old. I'm pursuing my bachelor's degree in finance, and I plan to graduate in spring of 2023, which is not a long way. I am a group fitness instructor, a Zumba instructor, and I'm also a dance choreographer at my former high school.
Hi, I am Jesse's mom, Karen Millman. I'm pleased to be here tonight with all of you. I have worked in the disability field for more than 25 years now, and I'm currently LEND family faculty. LEND stands for Leadership Education in Neurodevelopmental and Related Disabilities at the Westchester Institute for Human Development, where I get to work with an interdisciplinary team of healthcare professionals and students who want to be leaders in the field of intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Thank you. So I am going to ask you, I'm going to do some questions now, and I'm going to ask you about your successes and challenges along the way. We're going to start with the self-advocates, and then we're going to go to the parents. So Jesse, what were some successes and challenges in learning how to speak up for yourself or others?
Oh, okay, thanks. So one challenge I could think of is what happened last year at Iona College when my professor did not understand my disability. So this course I took was like it was an intermediate finance course. It seemed demanding to me. So after taking the course for a few days, I was given a homework assignment where I had to solve some I had to answer some of the terminology questions and conceptual stuff, and also had to answer some of those intense mathematical questions. So I tried to get help at 2 different tutoring programs at Iona College, the one I'm at right now. 2 of them included the Rudin Center and the CAP office, which stands for College Assistance Program. So no matter how hard I tried to get all the help from 2 of those services, I could not get any of the tutors were not able to help me with those questions. So as a result, I called my professor on a phone, and he thought I was capable of answering the questions with no problem. I was able to participate in the courses. I was able to read the chapters and review the slides, but I was still having difficulty with it. So I just obviously just hung up. I spoke to my parents. They were concerned about how I was feeling. I was feeling a bit offended and upset. So my father suggested that I speak to my professor, call my professor back again, call my professor, and ask him that I should just let him know that I have learning disabilities and processing issues. Because he knew that I get accommodations like extended time and a separate location, but he did not understand the extent of my disability. So I spoke to him about that, explained the whole scenario, and from there, he understood that I was struggling with this tough finance course, and I needed support to be successful.
Thank you, Jesse. That was very good. Marisol, how about you? So what were some successes and challenges in learning how to speak up for yourself and others?
My challenge was having people listen to me and not look at my disability and say, oh, she doesn't know anything, she's disabled. My success is that I didn't give up. I kept going until someone heard my voice, and I still do that today. I don't give up.
Good job. Okay, Heather. Same question for you. So
Okay.
go ahead and tell us what were some successes and challenges in learning how to speak up for yourself and others.
Okay, well, first I'll start with challenges. Growing up, I was always slower at learning things and achieving different developmental milestones. And also throughout my childhood and adolescence, I was bullied a lot. And I did have some friends though. And there've always been people that have always either expected too much from me or too little from me. And so it sort of had frustrated some people about me when they were expecting too much from me. And successes, I joined the the ARC Self-Advocacy group where I live back in 2007. And I've been a part of it since then. And I've served on their board as secretary and vice president. And I'm currently the secretary and I'm running again for vice president. And and it's helped me to speak up for myself more. And I've also given speeches about my life with autism, like on Zoom, and even before at the Geneva Center for Autism. And also, and I'm an athlete with Special Olympics, and that has helped me out a lot in my life. And also, and self-advocacy has given me more of a voice, saying like what I want to do with my life, and and more contacts. And I want to eventually go into self-direction and live on my own, but with a bit of help, because I'll need it. And so that's how self-advocacy has helped me.
Okay, so now I'm gonna switch the roles and I'm gonna go to the parents. What were some successes and challenges along the path to supporting your child to speak up for themselves and others? Victor, how about you go first?
Okay, the first challenge was that people have to understand that Marisol's condition was not mental condition, and that was very hard for in general public, not with the family, not with friends, and not with the teachers and all the therapists that work with Marisol. And that was a challenge because they thought that, you know, her condition also was a mental condition, but we knew better. And we overcame that, you know, directly or indirectly or privately. And the success of her is that she went to school, graduated, and nobody believed that she would drive a car, except for me. I mean, even her mother, God rest her soul. And when she did it, I didn't say nothing to anybody. It was to me, it was a self, you know, joy.
Yeah.
And again, we never treated her as anybody, as anything special. And that's I think that's the reason why she's like she is. We always let her try. We always let her on her own and encourage her. That was another thing, encouragement. All right. So right now, I'm pretty comfortable with how she is, and I think she's going to go further with the help, with a lot of help from organizations, therapists, and the family. And I'll always be appreciative of that.
All right. Thank you, Victor. Okay, Karen Romanek, what do you think? What were some successes and challenges along the path to supporting your child to speak up for themselves and others?
Well, the biggest challenge was the attitude of other people who just take a look at the surface and see Heather where she does her thing with stemming, which is twiddling in that. I do. And when Heather was entering the 9th grade, this was in Kingston, Ontario in Canada, they had an orientation day and the students hardly knew each other. And the team they put her with thought, we're going to lose for sure. And they had a treasure hunt and a obstacle course they had to get through, which really challenged their thinking and their physical abilities. And they told them, hey, just do it. And they discovered, well, Heather wasn't the klutziest one there. And they also, of the scavenger hunt, they had to complete at the same time, that it was held in a big park near where Heather used to go to school. And she knew where there's a little store, that some of the stuff on the list, they could just pool their money and go buy it. Or she knew where they had to come up with a stapler or something. She knew where some friends lived, just went over to their house and said, hey, can we borrow a stapler? And they got all their things. They weren't the first place. I think they were second or third, which blew all their minds, that they thought they weren't going to win. But Heather helped them over the finish line with knowledge of the area. And it was, again, changing attitudes that had to be done. And the biggest help that we got early, Heather was fortunate enough to live in Germany, Canada, and United States and be in different school districts all over the place. And we had a whole lot of things that were good, some that didn't work. And we kept, one teacher told us, keep every piece of paper regarding Heather you've got, no matter what it is. So when she had to change schools, we could walk in with a great big box of stuff and say, here, have a look. And so they would know what they're dealing with and what she can do, what she needs help with. And being able to talk to teachers and get to know them and the psychiatrists. My husband and I were both on the special education committee here in Watertown, New York, and on the exceptional family member program, which was just starting in the late 80s at Fort Drum, New York, where he was stationed. And we got to know people and we got to ask them. And that was the one thing that helped, ask questions and ask early, because nobody ever says, we got help too early. And we just kept asking people and used all sorts of the resources we could find, the old boy networks, different things, like somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And that was one of the biggest helps we found, was asking questions.
Thank you. That was great. Karen Millman, what were some successes and challenges along the path to supporting your child to speak up for themselves and others?
I think, early on, for Jesse, because of his developmental disabilities and learning challenges, he had expressive and receptive language processing challenges and comprehension issues, social communication. It was hard to present, let's say, on panels to train others, parents, educators about his disability. But I did find with time, over the past 10 years, just practicing, he's had the opportunity through the work that I do to present to up-and-coming doctors, up-and-coming dentists, educators, up-and-coming CSE directors. He's really had a lot of opportunities to present. And I think from practicing together, practice, and then actually doing these presentations, he has come so far from when he used to present on a panel when he was really, really quiet and didn't say that much or wasn't that comfortable, to now he's kind of like, when is the next presentation? I'm ready to do it. So it's been a real success story that way, but it's taken a lot of hard work.
Thank you. Please tell us a little bit about the barriers you face with various systems, such as school, OPWDD, certified programs, and how did you overcome them? So Jesse and Karen, you want to go first?
Sure, absolutely. So I was diagnosed with PDD-NOS. It's an acronym for pervasive development delay, not otherwise specified. That happened when I was nearly 3 years old. I was originally in the alternatively assessed elementary, middle, and high school programs. I was on the IEP diploma track, which is now known as the skills credential track. Then by the time I was 15 years old, my parents saw lots of changes to me academically, socially, emotionally, and with my leadership skills. So they felt, after learning as much as they could, that the IEP diploma track was possible too restrictive for me. And there was no chance that I would go to college if I was going to graduate with an IEP diploma. So the barriers we faced were that the school team thought that my education program was right for me, and they could not seem to find a way and give me enough special ed support so I could be in a program that gave me access to earning a local high school diploma. So my parents and I overcame this barrier by sending out a letter to the director of special ed and asked if my packets could be sent out to other school districts. So to make it a long story short, Eastchester School District reached out to my parents, met us in person, and agreed to give me a try. So ultimately, I was able to graduate at the age of 20 with a local high school diploma from Eastchester High School and go on to Westchester Community College. And now I own a college.
Nice.
Thank you.
Okay.
So just to really, I would say, piggyback on what Jesse said, I think the biggest barrier was the home school district that I would say kind of lumped all the special ed students together and didn't really look at them every year with a new lens and say, you know, have they grown and how have they grown and is the program too restrictive? It took a lot of work and advocacy, a lot of reaching out to educational consultants, colleagues of mine, putting a lot of work to finally get to the point where we were like, you know what, it's time for the packets to be sent out of district because the school just didn't, as Jesse said, didn't want to provide the special ed support that he would need to possibly follow this new local diploma track. But it all worked out. So it was good. It's all good.
Heather and Karen.
Okay. All right. Well, you're talking about, what is it you were saying, like,
Please
what
tell
was-
us a little bit about the barriers you faced within various systems, such as school, OPWDD, certified programs. And how did you overcome them?
Well, in school, in elementary school, I was, for most of elementary school, I was in a special ed class with some mainstreaming. And I found out that actually helped me better because I got the backup help that I needed. But when I got to close to the end of 7th grade and 8th grade, when I moved back to Canada, I was placed in an all regular class with no real backup, only a resource room. That didn't really work for me because I wasn't receiving the extra help I needed. And then a lot of the kids in that class and the other class would tease me and make me do silly things for then I was made fun of and would bully me too. And also, what else? And then when I got to high school, I was placed in a class, but at the basic level, which is like a step up from special education. And some of it worked for me, but I didn't have the backup help that I needed. And there were kids in the class, a lot of them were mean to me. And same thing would get me to do inappropriate things that I was made fun of, and like silly things. And what else? And also there were, my parents kept trying to say to the school board there that I did need some special education. And because and even some of the teachers that I had said the same thing, because they noticed my autistic behaviors and like my going off into my own world sort of thing, and my twiddling and that. And so anyways, but then as I got to like grade 12, I started doing better in school, and I also had a co-op placement in a special education class in which I worked with the students in there. And one was autistic, one had a brain injury, and two were multi-disabled women in wheelchairs who we did everything with them hand over hand. And also, and then that's the year I got involved with Special Olympics. And then a few years later, I got involved with an art school / art gallery for people with developmental disabilities called Heart Studio, in which we would make and produce all different types of artwork. And we even put on a few plays. And that really helped me out.
Oh, that's great.
The Heart Studio that Heather went to in Kingston, Ontario, because, well, in Ontario, to graduate high school, they have to do so many hours during their final 2 years of high school of co-op placement in businesses, like an intern. And also they have to volunteer with registered different agencies, can be churches. They have to have so many credit hours per year of that. And universities, same thing. If you want to pass that year, you have to be a registered volunteer with certain agencies. So at the Heart Studio, because in Kingston, they have several universities, and one of them is a medical teaching university. They also have schools of nursing, schools of physical therapy, teachers college at the university. They had student teachers, student doctors, student nurses, people from all types of faculties volunteering with Heart Studio. And it gave them a lot of practical experience. Plus, they were all learning about these different things. And a lot of them had their books with them while they were volunteering and could hand out saying, like, this looks like this, and here's something you might want to try. We got a lot of information. And the same at Special Olympics, because that's not like they're a once a year type thing. These are weekly sports practices that they go to. And just like any other community sport. And they had, again, university student and high school volunteers who could help out. They knew of places to go, people to talk to, different things. And that, I think, was one of the biggest helps Heather got.
Wow. Marisol and Victor, same question. Please tell us a little bit about the barriers you faced within the various systems, school, OPWDD, certified programs, etc.
Okay, well, I went to school like over 40 years ago. but when I went to school, they had like a mode that you had to fit into a mode. And if you didn't fit in that mode, you you didn't exist, basically. I broke that mode because I was mainstreamed at 11 into regular classes, and I went on to graduate with a recent diploma. That was a big deal back in the day. But it was that mode that you had to break so people would see what you can do and what instead of what you can't do. I already know what I can do. Tell me what I can do. And then let's move on from that. Right there?
Yeah.
You have the answer?
Well, yeah, sure. But my wife could have probably give you a better answer than I can. She was the one that really dealt with the schools, the programs, and trying to tell this individual, not again, not the therapist, not the people that are working with Marisol, the individuals and people who actually talk to the students and try to move them on. And that was hard to explain to them that, my daughter can do things, but she needs a little time. Or, as far as her mentality, it was hard to prove to them. Sometimes the people that handle, I say people, individuals that handle the office work, they don't deal with because my wife used to tell me this. They don't deal with the therapist. They don't deal with the teachers. And that was a kind of a hard barrier to break with these individuals who actually type in all the information, type in the records, recommend you to this place, recommend you to this therapist, recommend you to this doctor. For some, it was kind of difficult to try to explain to them that, no, my daughter doesn't need that. She needs this. But finally, between her and I, they got the idea that she can move on. And with a little help, she can move on. And that was one of the, try to convince those who are not really involved in the everyday, like the people I'm talking to right now. I'm sure they've dealt with people like individuals who don't listen. They're just, like I said, they fit you into a mold, and I don't need to go any further. And that was hard to kind of prove to people that, no, you need to help me go further. You need to help my daughter go further. And we stuck to our guns. And sometimes it wasn't easy. Sometimes you had to raise your voice. But so far, so good. So far, so good. Yep.
All right. So I'm going to do this for everyone. And where has your advocacy taken you? So, Marisol and Victor, I'll let you start.
All right. My advocacy led to my career. I worked for SANYS as a regional organizer, and that's when my advocacy took me to my career, and I love my job. I wouldn't trade it for the world. That's it. How about you?
Well, yeah, that's she actually said it, said it on because, like I said again, she just needed people to understand that was more capable of doing more than what actually everybody first sight. Like the old saying, 3 seconds when you first meet an individual, you kind of make your opinion about them. Well, that was hard to convey, and then she did that very well. I have to say that she did that very well. She stuck to her guns, said what she wanted, and here she is. It was this been an experience, but one that it was overcome.
Mm. Jesse and Karen.
Okay, so my parents and I reviewed the IEP, which is again it's basically an acronym for Individualized Education Plan. We discussed about my strengths and weaknesses. We learned about the strategies to accommodate for my disabilities from the tutors, and I also started attending IEP meetings at Scarsdale High School. And I learned to talk about myself in terms of what my strengths and weaknesses were, while simultaneously what my challenges were. So this helped me be comfortable with my disability, with what my disabilities were, and enabled me to get my needs met and be successful at school. So I also learned how to be a self-advocate in a 2-week boot camp session at WCC, or Westchester Community College. That was prior to starting my freshman year. So this gave me the opportunity just to learn about ways to advocate myself in the college setting. So one example is I learned how to write a well-organized essay, read some like comprehension chapters, learn how to apply math, learn about fire safety, and learning about how to sign up to take exams at the Disability Service Office, and to fill out the form to get the accommodation I need to be successful. So before every semester, before every semester, the week before, or actually the first week of the semester, I would come to the Disability Service Office, get a form that I would just fill out, and in the second week, I would receive the green form, and that way I would send it to my professor to inform him or her that I have a disability and I need accommodations to be successful in a class setting as well as an exam setting. And then the other form, and like I mentioned about, is getting a separate location where I could take the exams. So the week before the exams, I would send I would get the blue form and fill up, and then let the professor sign it. So that way I want to take the exam at a separate location. That way I don't get disturbed. And then I will go from there. And at Iona College, I've attended the Gales Chat, which is for the first semester. And that basically enabled me to improve and reinforce effective communication in a variety of settings. So specifically, I learned some social skills and did some role playing to help improve my self-advocacy skills and to integrate with other students on campus.
So in terms of advocacy, when Jesse was a little guy, first in elementary school, I got very involved with the special ed PTA in his elementary school. I eventually became co-chair. I advocated when there really wasn't a great program in the district for kids with special needs to play sports. So I created with another parent the Alternative Sports League. I worked on a cable television show locally for addressing issues for parents of children with special needs. And eventually I wrote grants to create a program for teenagers when Jesse was a teenager, focusing on life skills and social skills, community experiences, peer mentoring. So my advocacy has totally mirrored every stage of Jesse's life. And now, again, in the work I do at LEND, at WIHD, I continue to work with families and with healthcare professionals and educators, all about advocating and making a difference for individuals with special needs.
Okay. Heather and Karen, where's your advocacy taking you?
Well, my advocacy has taken me to whole new insights and whole different levels, and especially with getting this self-advocacy consultant job nearly 2 years ago. And I have spoken and written letters to different written emails to different politicians about different subjects relating to people with disabilities and advocating for like the supported decision-making bill and other things like higher pay for direct support professionals and all that. And I'm also, as well as a supporter of disabled people's rights, I'm a supporter of LGBTQ rights, and I meet monthly with a Pride Ability group on Zoom, and it's people with disabilities who are LGBTQ allies or LGBTQ themselves, and we advocate for the rights of people with who are LGBTQ. And my church, Trinity Episcopal Church in Watertown, New York, is very supportive of LGBTQ rights because we have some people in our church that identify as that. And I've been to 3 Rainbow Pride flag raising events in Watertown. First one was in 2019, second in 2021, and the third was last year. And last year, my church held a booth up at the Thompson Park, Fun in the Park for LGBTQ rights this past June, and we were there supporting LGBTQ rights, and it was a lot of fun, even though it was cold outside. The other 2 summers, it was hot.
It's great. And if you let me, oh, sorry.
I've met through doing these meetings through Zoom, I have met a lot of people like from all over the state and nationwide that I wouldn't have ever met because
some in Hawaii and Alaska.
Yeah, and some in Hawaii and Alaska, Arkansas, California, like doing the SARTAC meetings.
Wow.
And they're nationwide. And so it's a lot of fun, and I love doing self-advocacy, and I love this job. I love sticking up for the rights of people with disabilities, including my own, and sticking up for the rights of people who are LGBTQ. And I eventually someday would like to travel the whole country and the world, especially to underdeveloped countries, like some countries in Africa, like where they may not have as much rights there and much services for people with disabilities, and advocate for their rights. And I also like my volunteer job working with people with disabilities at a ARCS Dayhab program.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Anything else, Karen, you want to add?
Well, just that Heather has met so many new people since she started the self-advocacy route, and she's talks to people in Senator Schumer's office, although Heather refers to him as Chuck, my friend, and Governor Kathy, and used to talk to Governor Andrew, but not anymore.
Yeah.
And is on first name basis with their staff members. The only one she doesn't really talk to is our local Congresswoman.
I have a few times, but I've talked to her staff.
Elise Stefanik.
I have emailed her a few times, but.
So, and I thought that's pretty good for someone we were told when she was very young, just, well, she's alive and she's basically in good health, so we should be happy with that. And,
Yeah.
just, don't expect much.
But I proved them wrong.
Yep.
I think we all have. I will give you a little bit of detail about me as well.
And one thing I want to point out is when we moved to South Carolina, the first time I went to see a doctor there, and we did go to see him after this, but he was required to, by South Carolina law, to give my parents the option of whether or not they wanted to put me in an institution. And of course, my parents said, hell no. And he told them that was the answer he was looking for. Because, and you can see, I didn't need to be put in an institution.
Yeah, but South Carolina state law required him to offer that to us.
Yes.
And which I thought ridiculous.
And if I could imagine
She
if I was put in an institution, I wouldn't be where I am today
she
because
was 6 at the time. Like,
Right. I feel the same way, I must tell you. I was adopted when I was 8 years old, and my mom was actually told, my biological mom was told, she won't amount to anything, she can't do anything. I've proved a lot of people wrong. By the time, I was a stubborn walker, but I walk, I drive, I talk, throughout my life, I've overcome a lot of barriers. In school, I was always told, you'll never get a high school diploma. You'll never do this, you'll never do that. And I have proven over and over again. So with my story, I'll go back in 2001, I moved out of my parents' house into a supervised setting through the Learning Disabilities Association of Rochester, New York. Well, Genesee Valley, but it was in Rochester, New York, where I live. And they read all the regulations, they read all the packages on me, they read all the paperwork. In that paperwork, none of it said she has a vehicle. None of it said she drives a car. So the day I moved in, I pull up in a car and they all look at me and go, holy shit, we have a vehicle. None of them knew I had a vehicle. And they were all freaking out because they were like, another person with a car. And they didn't know what to do. None of them knew what to do. They were all like, oh my God, now we got to figure this out. So long story short, I was there till 2007. 2007, I moved into my very first supportive apartment on Meg Street in Rochester. 2005, I moved into that. There were some issues with the apartments and they needed space, and I was succeeding. So I was making it because I would work, I would come home, I knew how to cook and clean. In fact, everybody else would have these TV dinners and I would be making something. So they'd all come to my door and say, what's for dinner? So I'd have 10 people at my door asking if they could have dinner with me because I knew how to cook. My mother was no crappy person. She knew everything. She knew how to cook, clean. She knew how to teach me. She was a teacher. She was a special education teacher, but that's how I learned how to read. That's how I learned how to write. It was really, really scary, but it was like, wow, she's going to overcome all this. So
I also wanted to point out one thing. When you were talking about how some people thought you wouldn't amount to anything or you wouldn't be able to do this or that. Well, when I worked at the, it's now called an integrated business model, but back when I was there, it was a sheltered workshop. One of my jobs was working in the cafeteria. 2 other people who received services from JRC, I was called at the time, thought that I wouldn't ever get an outside of JRC job. Well, like 7 years later, I did. I worked at Joanne Fabrics. Then I worked at the Ministry of Community and Social, or the Jefferson County Department of Social Services, scanning documents. And then I worked for 5 years at Cracker Barrel Restaurant. And then another thing is, I got a job when I was still working through JRC before it became the ARC. I got a job as a teacher's assistant in the preschool there. So
That was good. So I used to work for Sam's Club in Rochester. That's a wholesale place. I used to work there, and I ended up getting a job for the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities as a self-advocate liaison. So I help individuals who don't understand stuff kind of learn their rights, learn different things, go to life plans, talk to them, help them, get them into what they need. So in 2009, though, I moved into my own apartment in the community and have been here ever since. Been a part of SANYS a long time. Marisol and I go way back, so we know. And now I'm back on the board again and doing wonderful things. And we had our first in-person board meeting, so we're doing really well with that. Next year, conferences will all be in person.
So thank you guys so much. I want to ask Michelle Flood and Sandy Mislow of SANYS to come in and lead questions, because we have a number of questions from the audience, and then have all of the panelists, including Marilyn, respond to those questions as they would like. So I'm going to unspotlight everybody, and everybody will just be on the screen together, and that way you can see everyone.
All right.
Okay.
I have a quick question before we jump into this. There's 6 minutes left. Do we have a hard stop at 7? And
No.
it's no. Oh,
No,
okay.
I mean, people could stay on as long as they would like to.
Okay.
I have to leave at 7 because I'm part of a talent show that the Speak group is putting on.
That's
Okay.
great.
So then what I would like to suggest, everyone who submitted a question, if you can put your email addresses in the chat or the Q&A, and then we can pass on your questions to the panelists, and y'all can like email each other. It's a suggestion for doing this, but I guess we should go ahead and answer something or ask something. The first message came from Sophie Breslow, and she said, "Hi, Karen. My name is Sophie Breslow. I am a college student like Jesse as well. I'm a junior social work major at Adelphi, not super far, and am extremely passionate about helping adults with disabilities. I'm a self-advocate as well, and I'm always interested in opportunities in the field. So I would love to connect with you and or Jesse to further discuss this." Okay, so I guess this was for Karen Millman.
Okay. So I would say perfect timing, because my colleague Mariella Adams and I at WIHD now have something called the WIHD Self-Advocacy Speakers Network, where Mariella works with self-advocates who would like to present to doctors, to dentists, to genetic counselors, to teachers, to parents, on and on. And she works with these individuals. She works with self-advocates on their PowerPoint presentations and on presenting skills. And if you want to email me, it's K Millman or Sandy, I guess, you could send my email, my WHD email. And I'd be happy to connect with you and with Mariella, and we can take it from there.
That's great. Sandy, I have Sophie's email address.
Okay, great.
So the next question in the chat was from Veronica Crawford, and she wanted to know, Heather, how you dealt with people's expectations of you when they chose not to look at your potential, but put you in that box, as Marisol said, in that little mold of who you were and who you could or could not be.
Well, it made me feel like they just thought I was just not good enough. Oh, they thought, oh, she'll never make me feel like that. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. And it made me feel like they made me feel like I was less of a person. and that they were putting me down, kind of like that.
And Heather also had won a number of athletic gold medals in the provincial and national Special Olympics in Canada. And she was pictured in the newspaper quite often, the local daily newspaper, the Kingston Whig Standard. And we used to, I always carried a picture and folded up in my purse.
And also put the heritage in them of the other
little local weekly newspapers. And it said, oh, here, she can do things. Have a look. And when you look at the bottom of the one picture, it fell apart after 25 years of unfolding and folding. It said stock photo, which meant they had a lot of pictures on this actually rather large daily newspaper, had a lot of pictures of Heather. They just got to pick and choose which one they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, look, she's known to them. And I said, the best thing, what I've done over the years, like there's a photographer there, or there's a TV camera. Heather is now getting rid of the big handprint on her back from me shoving her in front of cameras and things. And, but it helped get her known and out there, and she could speak to people, and it proved to others that yes, she can do things, even though, they may look at her and see her that, what's wrong with her? Just have to stick with it and be your kids. Like my husband always said, it's like when you see a boxing match, there's the boxers out in the ring, but in each corner, they've got a whole team of people that are in their corner. That's what we got to be, the people in her corner. And it worked. It helped.
Yep.
So there's also an anonymous question to Jessie. The person is interested in going to college, but they feel like it might be a little too overwhelming for them. So maybe do you have any advice you can give them on how to combat being overwhelmed in the school system?
Sure. I say a student should start being a part-time student and not go into a scenario, go into like a route where you'll take like 4 to 5 courses, because it gets very overwhelming. And the next thing they can do is they'll stress themselves out and just feels like they just can't make it through the route. So I say like 2 to 3 classes per semester is the way to go. That way you can manage like some spare time, catch up with your homework assignments, get all the help that you needed, and you can just be successful in just in that particular type of route.
If I could just add to that, I think also find schools that have disability services offices, so important. Because again, your IEP doesn't follow you from high school. So in college, there is no IEP. It's really you as a self-advocate. So I think, it really helped Jesse go into these boot camps where he learned about the different forms to give to professors, how to speak to professors, how to get his needs met. Because I've seen with other young adults that I know, like Jesse, who are going to college, the ones that are having the most success are the ones who are comfortable being a self-advocate and reaching out, speaking to their professors, going to disability services office, because it really does, it makes a difference.
And another thing I could add on is some colleges may have one-on-one support for anyone who wishes not to wait like half an hour of getting the next tutor. And so in this case, for example, at my college, at Westchester Community College, they had a TRIO program. And this basically is like designed to help students who may need some support in more like the skills and even maybe some of the subjects. So if they can't wait that long, they can always just get one-on-one support at that particular service instead of being in the kind of the disability services where you just have to wait maybe like half an hour. So one-on-one support is absolutely not a way to go for any student who needs lots of help.
Okay. Thank you, Jesse. That was a great answer. So I'm going to just read. Oh, Marisol, were you hoping to say something? Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm going to read a couple of really quick comments. Wonderful feedback. Robin sorry if I'm butchering your last name. You said that she loves all of your honesty and feedback. You are all a joy to listen to. And Sophie Breslow said, Jesse, I love your shirt. Definitely a great message that more people need to respect. There were also several comments throughout just saying how much people have enjoyed this presentation. So I wanted to make sure that was put out there first. And then I'm going to ask one more quick question of Marisol and Victor. Can you tell the tree story? We want to hear the tree story. And this is a beautiful example of how Victor and Marisol's mom had such a great approach to raising Marisol. And it's why Marisol is the strong, independent woman she is today. But can we end with the tree story?
Okay, we used to have a tree in their front yard, but my front yard. It was very low to the ground, so I was able to get my foot on it and pull myself up and then climb the tree. Well, I did this one day, and my neighbor, she came out and she said, Victor, Marisol in the tree. My dad was under the car, working on the car. So he rolled out of the car. He looked at me, looked at my neighbor, and he said, she got herself up there, she will get herself down. And as you can see, I got up. So that's how I grew up. But my mom and dad and my brothers let me try stuff and fail and succeed and fail and succeed. That's how I grew up. Do you remember?
Yeah, because well, like, again, she was always brought up to take care of herself. And of course, you have 4 brothers. So there were no limits as to what they did or how they did it. But she had to put up herself with 4 brothers. Climbing the tree, they used to climb that tree. So I guess she said, if they can do it, I can do it. And I said, if she got up there, she can get down. So far it's worked. Yeah.
Miss, thank you for sharing that. It's such a great story. And it's hard. I'm a parent of 2 kids who had IEPs all throughout. It's very hard to stand back and not try to protect all the time and not and allow for a little bit of danger, because we all experience that when we're kids and growing up and risk. Danger is not the right word. Risk. There's a lot to be said about dignity of risk, and that story just perfectly exemplifies that.
So yeah, we would like to thank you all for coming. You can contact us at SANYS.org and we can connect you with any of the panelists, or if you have a loved one who you want a little more support in advocating, have them come and join us. We have weekly meetings, we have regional meetings, we're statewide. So there's a good chance that there's an office or a self-advocacy group near you that we're involved with. And we'd like to thank the College of Staten Island, Nora and Catherine, for having us tonight.
Oh, we're the ones to thank you so much. Thank you for putting this together. It's been really great to hear people's stories and to have this chance to learn about how you've really taken off, and really, it's just fantastic to hear. So I'm going to ask Nora to say our official goodbye for the last year of Willowbrook event.
Well, thank you
all.
so much. Thank you, Catherine. What a wonderful event. I am very familiar with the journey that all of you faced. I have a son with autism who is currently second year of college, so I know exactly what you're going through and how hard it is. But it's amazing to see how much you achieved, and I'm very proud of all of you. I just want to thank you for coming tonight, and thank you everyone who helped to organize this event and make sure everything runs smoothly. It's been an amazing year. I'm very proud of the work that was put together throughout the year, and it was incredible to bring all these events to all of you. And I want to especially thank my co-chair, Catherine Lavender, the hundreds or thousands, I don't know, I lost count of the hours that we spent working on the year of Willowbrook, but it was all worth it. So I hope all of you enjoy the year of Willowbrook, and just have a good night and check out those recordings.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. Take care,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you all so much. Okay.